sinners and saints. Dust off those horns and halos. It's time for Alan After Dark.
You know what, sinners and saints? We could have one of those New Year episodes, you know, the New Year, New Me bullshit. But I don't think we're going to do that this year on Alan After Dark. I think we're going to go in a totally different direction. I was chatting with one of my best friends the other day, and in this discussion, a really interesting question came up. And the question was, what if you were God? God as defined by religion, Christianity in particular. What if you were that God? What would you do? And it really does provoke a lot of emotions for me, thinking about that simple question, which is really a great big question. Now, if I was God, first of all, no one would ever be sick. No one would ever be hungry. There would be no wars. There would be no one who was poor. Everyone could have the life that they wanted to live. There would be no crime, no murders, no violence. I would prevent it. Of course, there could be conflict and arguments, relationships ebb and flow, but there doesn't have to be all this extra drama around that. And when you think about what you would do if you were God, you have to ask the question, why doesn't God do that? Why does God allow so many bad things to happen? And I know we have discussed religion on this podcast a whole bunch. You know how I feel about it. You know that I feel like most of it is fake and used to manipulate people. It is not genuine. And then there are many who are genuinely devoted to their beliefs, their faith, their theology. That's great too. It's a free country and you can think and feel any way you want. Well, you should be able to. Ask a transgender person, ask a gay person how they feel about that these days. But doesn't it make you want to question God? This all-powerful, all-encompassing being, this power beyond anything that's comprehensible, that just by uttering the words created the entire universe, the planets, Earth, and everything in it. And why would God allow so many bad things to happen to good people in particular? I mean, literally, God could change everything just like that with a snap of their fingers. And if you've read the stories in the Bible, it makes it sound like it's written as a way to justify a God, not that it's the result of a God. Because when you start thinking about everything being the result of God, you get a little bit angry, don't you? I certainly do. Why can't we have a perfect world? Why won't God allow that? And don't give me some sort of bullshit about having to go through the troubles and trials of this life to enjoy a second life. A second life, by the way, that none of you can prove exists. I know, you're supposed to have faith. Good luck with that, okay? All these things that people say and do to justify God. I think I mentioned this before years ago. There was a video going around of a woman outside filming a tornado heading toward her house. And she starts praying. Well, the tornado turns into a different direction. And everybody started declaring, see, prayer works. It changed the direction of that tornado. Failing to mention that that tornado turned in a direction that killed like 9 people. So in theory, what you're saying is that the 9 people must not have prayed because they were killed. Had they prayed, maybe the tornado would change directions again? Is that what you're saying? Of course it would have happened. It would have happened because it was the nature of that storm. Pure and simple. But I get so sick after every mass shooting we have in the United States when everybody says thoughts and prayers. Well, why aren't you praying up front? Why aren't you praying every day that there should never be another shooting of any kind at a school, at a mall, at a store, anywhere? And if you are praying every day for those shootings to never happen, God certainly is not answering your prayers. And I thought that in the Bible, it says something to the effect that if you have as little faith as the size of a grain of mustard seed, that you could move mountains. So if I'm to believe the scriptures, not a single damn person on this planet has that minute amount of faith, unless your Bible is wrong, and that it was written by men determined to manipulate people for their own agenda. I don't know, maybe God has a sick sense of humor. Maybe he enjoys inflicting pain and punishment upon people. And then, if you believe the scriptures, you could wind up in a place that burns forever. What could merit that? There's very few people that I can think of that would merit billions and billions and billions of years of punishment. Adolf Hitler, every communist dictator on the planet, the orange turd absolutely deserves eternal punishment. But it just seems like that's a little too much, isn't it? Am I the only one who thinks this way? That really you should be punished for trillions of years just because you didn't believe in something that turned out to exist? Honestly, does that make sense, folks? Please tell me. I mean, I really would like someone to be able to convince me that I'm barking up the wrong tree when it comes to God. But ask yourself that same question. What would I do if I was God? And if your responses are like mine, doesn't that make you wonder about the so-called God? Don't you want to just say, what the hell are you doing? Why would you let children around the world starve to death or be abused, molested? Why would you create things like cancer and AIDS? Why would you make people so violent that they want to murder hundreds, if not thousands of people? Why did you allow Hitler to exist? Seriously, none of this makes sense to me. Happy fucking New Year, right? I think that if I was God and I was brilliant enough to create humanity, I would be here. I would be enjoying all the pleasures that we enjoy in life. I guess God's too busy or something, but if everything just happens by the mere uttering of a word, then God has nothing to worry about. Everything is pretty simple. I would indulge in every sexual aspect that I could feel. I would be jumping from planet to planet, indulging in every life that I've created everywhere in the universe. And yes, I don't see how anyone could ever believe that we're the only life in the whole vastness of the universe. Just impossible. Unless you all believe that God only intended for life to exist on this one planet, right here, this little blue dot. And even that, why? Why create life in the first place? There was no need to, except for that God was bored or something. But what happened before we existed? And before that, and before that, and before that? If God has always existed, and there's never been a beginning, which makes no sense either, what came before us? Did God wipe out everything and say, I think I'll start all over again? Seriously. I guess you all can tell that I'm not very happy today. And I'm not. I view almost every day now when I wake up in the morning with the same worries. What the fuck has the orange turd said overnight? What has he done? You all know he's got dementia, right? I think he's got Alzheimer's. I mean, seriously. There's no way that people can accept that his behavior is normal. And I mean normal in the most psychotic of ways. My God, I think we would be safer with Hannibal Lecter as president than that orange turd thing. Aren't you all just disgusted and repulsed? Again, God, why did you allow such things to happen? Is it just to teach us a lesson? Well, just teach us the lesson and let's move on. It just makes no sense why God wouldn't let us have a perfect life. And even that, the original sin, Adam and Eve and the forbidden fruit, which really wasn't a fruit at all. It was about sex, but God allowed it. God could have prevented that from happening. You put a tree in the Garden of Eden and say, you can eat, partake of anything else, but don't touch that tree. Well, you're setting them up right off the bat, knowing that they would fail the test in the first place because you're all-knowing and all-controlling. So it was your intention for humans to fail and to punish them for sins that you've created. You didn't have to create sin, did you? Or is it just a construct of the Bible that was written by men? I mean, come on, God. Think about it. You give us these abilities, the knowledge to do things, and you decide those things are sins. I mean, you could have decided everything that you created, including our own thoughts and impulses, you could have said, those are all good. I mean, why couldn't there be one rule? You can do anything you want as long as you're doing it with people that want to do it. Consenting adults. That makes a lot of sense, doesn't it? Here I am talking to God as if it's a neighbor letting his dog shit in my yard, when I know that it is probably, most likely, men, the aristocracy, the elites in religion that created a book that allowed us to be manipulated like this. But still, let's just go with the God part tonight. Then we'll figure it all out. Okay? Okay. So yeah, it's like a neighbor letting his dog shit in my yard. And another thing, God, if you didn't want gay people, why did you create us? Seriously, I want to know. I would love to learn these lessons. And some of y'all might be turning off this podcast right now because you think that I'm being sacrilegious. I'm truly asking the questions. Questions that I would love answers to. And I wish someone could give me those answers. And I'm pretty sure that nobody will. I could challenge a priest or a minister or a religious philosopher, and they would give me the same bullshit answers I've heard my whole life. You have to accept it. This is how it is. The Lord works in mysterious ways. Blah, 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 blah. Well, you know what? I think that's bullshit. I really do. And why can't God provide us the answers we need? I mean, really, why does God have to be a secret, a mystery, a stranger almost? Why is it that you have to just have faith that God exists when God could show himself and take care of all this? It's almost like, how can the Bible say that God is a jealous God, but gives us no ability to really recognize that God exists? And I believe there's also a scripture that says something to the effect of, how can you hate your brother whom you have seen and claim to love God whom you haven't seen? Well, isn't that scripture alone telling you that God is aware that there is no proof of his existence? Well, what does that mean to all of us? It's like this is another sick game of truth or dare, faith or hell. I mean, what is it going to be? It just really does frustrate me how all of this is approached. And how we have people like Elon Musk. Why does God allow Elon Musk to exist in the way that he exists? Why can't we all be as rich as that? Where every person would go to their refrigerator and there would always be food there. Whatever you craved, you could have. And we didn't have heart disease and no one got fat. And we didn't have to worry about doctors and all the things that could go wrong. That accidents no longer happened. And that we could truly just live forever on earth and enjoy paradise. And you wouldn't have to worry about overpopulation because God can control that too. God controls everything, right? Everything. I have a feeling that this is sounding like a bunch of random nonsense as I dwell on it a little bit more, but bear with me. We'll get to some dick. So, analyzing this question, what if I was God, Alan style, if I was God, I would take on a human form. I know you all would think that I would say I would want to look like Henry Cavill. No. I want to have sex with Henry Cavill, so I don't know that I want to look like him, but I would want to look like the most beautiful, sexy man that's ever lived, and I would be having gangbangs where I'm being plowed by Henry Cavill, Hugh Jackman, Russell Tovey, Diego Sands, Jordan Brandt, Connor McGuire. I'd be getting plowed and mouth fucked every night. God, no pun intended there. God, that would be great, wouldn't it? That you could do that. You could actually indulge in all the sexual activity you could handle. You're God, right? So you get to do everything. You get to feel everything. You get to sleep and have sex with the most beautiful people if you want. Damn, I would be, I'd just be an open mouth, an open shirt, and open legs. Turnstile at the end of the hall. Line forms to the left. Come and get it. Just take a turn. Wouldn't you all though too? Wouldn't you? Come to think of it, you think that's what God might do if God exists? You think he's like Elon Musk or something? Where you live this really wild, crazy lifestyle and you make all this money and you get to do whatever the fuck you want and oh Jesus. That would be, no pun intended, heaven. Or hell's bells. One day be Henry Cavill, one day be Hugh Jackman, another day be Joel Kinnaman, another day be James McAvoy, be anybody you wanted to be Madonna on her most successful tour, feel that adulation from fans. You would get to experience all that based on what I understand of what God is supposed to be. Holy shit. Now that would be some fun ass stuff to do. Would it not? I think it would be. And the Mohawk man wouldn't have to change his style, his appearance for a higher paying job. He would get to be the Mohawk man. Well, grocery stores technically wouldn't exist. Well, for people to work. You would just get to go in and get whatever foods you needed, if you even had to do that. I think the concept of you just opening your refrigerator, your cupboards, whatever, and the food would just appear. That would be great, I think. Unless you're trying to tell me that the Christian God is limited, can't do all these things. But that got me a bit turned on, thinking about if I was God and I could create Henry Cavill in my bedroom, slam fucking me against the wall every night. I had never thought about that before, sinners and saints, until we started talking about this tonight. And usually my mind is always in the gutter, you know? I'm always thinking about the dirty stuff and the crazy stuff. Well, usually, except for when I'm mad. And I am a bit mad right now, but that's a different story. You could never be bored if you were God, right? You could place yourself at the top of Mount Everest one night. You could wander the poles, the North and South Poles. You could be on a beach in Hawaii. You could be skiing in the Swiss Alps. You could be enjoying Australia in the summertime, Paris in spring. You would have everything at your fingertips that this planet has to offer. And everything else that's out there. We don't even know what other life is out there. And if you're God, you created all that too. And you could be indulging anywhere and everywhere in the universe. When I start describing it like this, it really does seem far-fetched, doesn't it? Yeah, it does. And also, I just want to say that I'm not trying to convince anybody to change their beliefs. If you believe, that's wonderful, that's great, that's fantastic. But don't be so dismissive of all of us who don't necessarily believe and have questions that you can't answer. Our opinions and our beliefs are just as valid as yours, and ours don't necessarily have to include a God. What I'm saying is that none of us know. We really don't. And we don't have to know. All I know, though, is that we have life on this planet, and our lives are limited, and we better enjoy and live for as much fun and love and joy as we can, because no one has ever cheated death. And God's not going to save us from that either. God has proven that time and time again, and I don't see any of that changing anytime soon. I wonder, though, in Christianity, there is the belief in a second coming of Christ. And I know that there have been so many people who've predicted when that would happen, and they've all been wrong, of course. What if we go another 200 years, 300 years, 500 years with no second coming? Will you ever stop believing? Well, you won't have any choice. You'll be dead. But I know that even when I was going to church, that there were men in my church predicting we had just 30 or 40 years before the second coming. And here we are now, way past those times, really. Well, sort of, not really, but, that was then, this is now, and stop trying to figure out how old I am by the things I say. Shut up. I will say this about the holidays and the New Year holiday coming up. I will be sucking some dick. That shouldn't come as a surprise to you, but it might. But I have, especially today, as I'm talking to you all, I have this determination. I want dick. And I'm going to get some. And God help anybody who tries to get in my way. I want to have fun. I want to flirt and tease and maybe make out with a guy and just have reckless, careless frivolity, if I can say that. I just want to have a night where I don't have to think about anything but the male physique and what's hanging between a guy's legs. Is that too much to ask? I don't think so. Maybe I should phone a friend, whatever that means. What the hell, Alan? Jesus. Anyway, Happy New Year. And here we are again at the end of an episode. And once again, the time just flew by, didn't it? And despite my negativity, I hope each and every one of you have a wonderful, happy New Year, and that you receive everything that you want and you get everything that you deserve. And as always, take life by the balls and be real. We'll see you soon.